Hey everyone, thanks so much for stopping by my channel today. I have a project for the Justnik digital cut file design team, and I'm going to be starting off here with this really cool split circle stencil cut file. And I've cut that on using some basil marshmallow cardstock. And you can see here that now I'm just taking some Nouveau Mousse in Bramley Apple. And I'm going to try a couple of different techniques through this stencil here. First of all, I just wanted to show you one thing that you can do if you don't really care if you have much dimension is you can just take a brush and you can brush that color through the stencil. And it just is the neat thing about this mousse is it's got a really cool sheen to it. And it almost is kind of like this color almost has sort of like a gold kind of tone to it, almost like a metallic. So I really like that. And with the collection that I'm working with today, I just thought this would be a really cool color to run through this stencil. And the nice thing about the mousse is you can also make it dimensional. So when you take a palette knife, you can actually scrape it through this stencil and it just creates this really cool texture. So now you can see the design that it creates. I'm going to trim this up and you'll see that in a minute. I'm just going to take my heat tool and heat it up a little bit. And I'll take my my cutter and I'm just going to trim off that excess there so that it creates kind of like a little area for a mat for my photos. And then you can see where I'm going to use that happy cut file over on the left side as part of my title. So the really neat thing about cut files is you can also use them as a stencil. So the beautiful thing about your cutting machine is it has many purposes. And I love how Nicole designed some of her files to also be used as stencils. So that's this one, which like I said, is the split circle stencil. So now that I've got that white paper all trimmed up with the green circles on it, you can see that I've chosen this paper from Pink Fresh as a background for my layout or a base, and it's just a really pretty blue with a little circle pattern. So I'm going to be repeating the circle design on this layout. Now I'm also going to take the happy cut file, which I've cut again from the basil marshmallow cardstock, and I'm going to back that with some of the 6x6 papers from the Out and About collection from Pink Fresh. So all of the papers and embellishments that I'm using today are from that collection. It is a travel theme collection, and it is travel theme week over at the Justnik blog. And I am documenting here a recent trip that my son took, and I'll talk about that a little bit more as the layout here continues. So I'm just going to take my cutter bee scissors here and I'm going to cut around the outside edge of that cut file. And in that way, it's just going to provide a backing for the cut file in that way. So it's a really cool technique to create a little bit of color behind your cut file. It's super easy to do. It doesn't take long, and it does have a really good impact, I think. It's a nice effect on a layout. So I'm just going to, you can see I'll just continue fussy cutting. I really love these precision scissors for this technique. Super easy to get into all the tiny little areas. And I also use my knife and my little cutting mat to get into the little openings in the A and the two P's. I don't do that on camera, but you can see my little blade and my little pad there to the right of the screen right now. And I just use that to open up those little areas in the center of the A and the two P's. Now I'm taking some dimensional adhesive here, just some 3M 1/2 inch foam tape. And I'm going to put that on the back of my black and white photo here just to lift it up off of that patterned paper that I'm going to use as a mat. I've printed these photos in roughly 4x3. I think they're a little bit narrower than 3 inches just because of the dimensions of the actual photo. I had to make it a little bit skinnier than tall. And you can see that this is a picture of Jordan on his bike. So I'm just going to mat these up using my tonic trimmer here. I love this trimmer for trimming up photo mats. It is so good for that. Super sharp, really easy to line things up and get things straight. So you'll just see that I'm using a patterned yellow paper that's from the Out and About collection. So the color scheme I'm going for here is kind of a teal, that really light blue, the green, and yeah, so those colors. So you'll just see different tones of those colors throughout this layout. And I love that color scheme for a masculine layout. Now this same paper that I used to back the cut file, I'm also going to do another mat in the photos. So those two pattern papers that I matted the photos with are also the papers I backed the happy cut file. Now I'm going to take the larger piece of that teal paper and I'm going to do a mat on this green circle paper. And then I'm going to put some craft foam on the back of that teal paper just to lift it up off of the larger mat for the layout. I also wanted to add a little bit of detail to my layout with this larger piece of the yellow paper. And you can see it's hard to cut into this because it's got all those cut aparts on the back, but I did have 2 sheets. The great thing about the Pink Fresh paper packs is they come with 2 sheets of each paper, so that is a win. So I'm just going to cut off the manufacturer strip here, and then I'm going to take that Stampin' Up! Notebook punch and I'm going to trim up a little border piece, and that little border piece I'm going to use just as a little bit of detail and embellishment on either side of that teal mat with the green circles. So you can see that now it's on either side of there. It's just going to add a little bit of detail there. I am going to trim that up, but now you can see the design for my layout coming together. I wanted to take this circle embellishment here and put another circle in the middle of it to kind of separate the 2 photos. You can see that I've got some dimensional tape on top of or underneath my happy cut file there just to pop that up. And now I'm going to just work on the title piece. So I'm going to take a die cut from the collection that says Lost, and then I'm going to take some small gold foam alphas and I'm going to spell out Get Lost In and then Happy. So that will be the whole title. This layout is documenting a trip that Jordan recently took to my sister's. He lives out in Kingston. It's about a 2-hour drive from Ottawa. He drove up to Ottawa, took his bike with him, and he and my sister and her husband went on a really big long bike ride to the Byward Market. And they actually ended up biking about 50 kilometers or something like that. It was a really big bike ride, but he just wanted to spend some time with them because that will be his last trip out to their place before he moves. So they just had a really nice visit, and I'm just documenting that little vacation that he took. So the little freeze sticker that I'm putting there on the lower picture, it says travel log, which is perfect because Dennis is actually logging into his, I guess, Fitbit or whatever he has for a watch. It's a smart watch, and he's just putting in, I guess, maybe what their you know, the trail that they're going to take and all that kind of thing so that they stay on track. And it's going to log in how much time it takes them and how many kilometers they go and all that kind of good stuff. So that's the picture of him, and then Jordan up top, and he's all ready to go. So now I wanted to use this frame as for my journaling, but it wasn't quite the right colors or the right paper. So what I did was I took a frame die from my stash, and I'm just going to cut out some of that same yellow pattern paper. And then I'm just going to duplicate and create my own frame like the Pink Fresh frame. And so here you can see, and I'm going to show you, they look pretty much identical. I just used some of the die cuts from the die cut pack and put a little sewing on there, printed out my journaling in Microsoft Word, and there we have the journaling spot. Now, I think this is kind of an interesting design because we still have the triangle, the visual triangle happening, but it's not a symmetrical triangle. But I'm okay with that. It's a good way to mix things up when you're designing a layout so that it looks a little bit different. So it's not always the same layout over and over again, which I do like to try to avoid. I like to mix it up. So you can see when I put this journaling spot down, there's going to be an area above it that's kind of doesn't have anything in it. And I'm okay with that. It's okay to have some blank space. It's not exactly blank space because that stencil work is still there taking up some of the area, and it still looks interesting. So you can see I just added a little embellishment there and the word story just to draw your attention to the journaling. And my layout's basically done. You can see that I trimmed that pattern paper down a little bit and put a green mat around the outside edge. And I did a little bit of stitching on my sewing machine, and I'm just showing you some of those details. I am going to leave a link to the Just Knit shop down below. Make sure you check it out. Check out all of the gorgeous cut files at Nicole Designs, and check out the blog as well. I'll also leave a link to that. Thanks so much for stopping by, guys. I'll see you another time here on my channel, and have an amazing day. Bye-bye.